Hey there, thanks for hopping on the video. Today we're going to be talking about buying your insurance online. Now I have some pretty strong opinions about this and we're going to go over those, but if you have to buy your auto insurance or your homeowner's insurance or other insurance online, please make sure that you're going through a reputable company. Please make sure you understand what each of the boxes and the coverages mean before you accept or reject certain coverages. Because there's some stuff that may get packaged into a policy that's just a huge profit center for an insurance company and doesn't provide you a lot of value. And by the same token, there may be something on there that seems kind of like boring, but it is super essential and you'd be crazy not to have it. So we're going to be going over some of those details on this. So let's talk about one of the most important decisions you need to make when buying insurance online is what your liability limits are going to be. If you don't know what that means, then go back and watch some of the previous videos where we've talked about it. One of the other things that you need to make sure that you understand is what your deductible is going to be. Again, if you're not familiar with how this works, go back to the previous video. Understand what those deductibles are. Now, one thing that I didn't talk about, I'm going to give you some bonus things here in this video. One thing I didn't talk about with deductibles is the sweet spot for most people where a deductible is still affordable, but yet it's kind of finding you the nice go-between of not having too high of a premium and stuff like that. I really like to have people at $500 for comprehensive, if you can read my small writing there, and $1,000 for collision. I'll just abbreviate those two. The reason why is typically your comprehensive claims are oftentimes for a lower dollar amount, meaning say a tree fell on the car or somebody keyed the car. I had that happen one time coming out of college. I walked out to this green Toyota Tacoma that I had and somebody had keyed the side of my truck. That was an example of a comprehensive claim. Okay. If you're not familiar with this stuff, go back and watch the video that we have about full coverage insurance, and you'll understand what I mean by that. So we have $500 for a comprehensive claim and $1,000 for a collision claim. Generally, your collision claims are going to be a higher dollar amount, so that's why I encourage people to have a little bit more skin in the game there. So the deductibles is something that's super important. Another thing, and this is probably the one thing that I see that gets left off all the time on insurance policies when people are buying insurance online. That is UM/UDM. Now what does that mean? So this stands for uninsured motorist and underinsured motorist. So how does this work? It's tied into your liability limits kind of. So what do your liability limits do? They cover your legal liability or responsibility in the event that you injure somebody or damage their property, okay? So it's your coverage to protect other people, right? Now with this is coverage for you. This is coverage for your family to make sure that your medical bills are going to be covered if you get hit by somebody who is uninsured, they're an uninsured motorist, or they're underinsured on their insurance coverage. So people leave this off on buying insurance online all the time because it's not technically required. But if you get with any agent that's worth their salt and that's good at what they do, they're going to include this on every single policy because you'd be crazy not to, right? Why would you go around, I mean the state requires you, right? But to play devil's advocate for a minute, why would you go around having this coverage that protects everyone else and not protect yourself with your own policy? Seems kind of silly to me. So these are some of the big decisions that you need to make sure that you understand. You also need to understand the difference between kind of what we're talking about here, comp and collision. Okay, that's something that is super important. In the state of Utah, we have what's called PIP coverage. PIP, Personal Injury Protection coverage. If you're not familiar with what that means, let's go over it briefly. So Utah is what's referred to as a no-fault state, all right? So to tell you a story, when I first started in the insurance business, literally like my second or third week in, my wife got in a car accident. Fortunately, her and my little girl, they weren't seriously injured, but they did have some medical bills, okay? My wife was sitting in a stoplight, her light turned green, she started going, and this guy came flying through the intersection trying to beat the red light, T-boned her, just a bad situation. Very clearly the guy's fault. All the witnesses agreed. And at that time, because I didn't understand the value of it, I only had $3,000 worth of PIP coverage. So what does this mean? So this is no fault coverage, meaning that regardless of whoever was at fault in the accident, this is money that's readily available. This is a good thing to have. Money that's readily available to you in the event of an auto accident so that you can get your medical bills taken care of without having to wait for a court case to settle or crazy stuff like that. So the reason why I don't think that this is a good idea to carry this limit, and I've talked to a lot of personal injury attorneys who say, please, 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 please have your clients carry at least $10,000 worth of PIP coverage. The reason being is that that'll keep you out of small claims court. So the way that this works, going back to the story of my wife, so she had about $7,500 worth of medical bills, somewhere in there. So our PIP coverage on our policy paid out first. Paid out the $3,000 for her emergency room visit, for some of her physical therapy visits, but we had, that only covered so much. So we still had physical therapy visits that we had to pay for, as well as chiropractor visits. And so we had to pay out of pocket or make payment arrangements with those healthcare providers to get those medical bills taken care of. If we would have just had higher PIP coverages, then this just would have been paid out and it would have been just handled right away. We eventually got our money back, but it took over 18 months for the whole case to go through the system and to get done. So basically, the first $3,000 paid for right away. The other $4,000, $4,500, whatever it was, it took 18 months before we got the reimbursement checks for that. So this is something that's important to consider with when buying your auto insurance online. What else do we have? We need to have options for, say, roadside assistance and rental car coverage. And auto death indemnity. Sounds pretty serious, right? So these are just some of the choices that you're going to have about buying insurance online and decisions that you're going to have to make when you're buying that insurance. So as you can see here, there's a lot of moving parts, and I don't even have all of the moving parts of an auto policy listed up here. These are like the condensed Reader's Digest versions of this. So I really encourage people to understand what they're getting before they buy insurance online, because the insurance companies who are out there marketing insurance exclusively online, their goal is just to sell policies and make it super easy. And so they don't go into details about making sure that you and your family are protected and covered. So understand what you're getting before you make an online purchase decision. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next video.